Hey everyone, I'm an engineer, or maybe a scientist. I don't even know anymore. But what I do know is, my degree has nothing to do with building display cases, or furniture for the matter. But with that being said, I built myself some two-tone display cases that have lighting that involve no drilling, and have dust resistance. And I'm going to give you my 21-step program on how I did it. But to address the glaring question, why two-tone Detolfs? And to answer that question, first, Ikea didn't have dark Detolfs, making the white ones the only one available that I couldn't buy. And second, my furniture is dark, but I wanted a white interior for better lighting. So let's get started by going over what it took to make these. And to do that, we'll start with the material. The very first item is the Detolf display cases themselves, and you can get these at Ikea. Next is the sandpaper, preferably light medium grade. I use this to sand the exterior so I can paint on it. Then we get the painting tape. I tried out both the frog tape and the traditional blue Scotch tape, though I recommend the frog tape. Then we get the spray paint. I went with the satin black, but pick whatever brand you want because I don't know anything about spray paint. For LED lighting, I picked up the Commercial Electric White Tape Lighting Kit. There is an RGB kit, but I tend to find that the RGB lights run a bit blue. If I wanted RGB, I'd recommend the RGBW, where the white has its own dedicated LED. Moving on, we're gonna need an LED channel. I'm using these ones. I picked them up on Amazon. Note, these have a light diffuser which helps remove the glaring dots that reflect off the characters or the glass of the Detolfs. Next we have the two-sided tape. I used white tape, though you can get clear tape. Now, with the tape that I got, I did have to cut it a little bit so that it would fit on the LED channel properly. Have some regular Scotch tape handy, and also get some spiral wrap. I use this to hide and control the wiring. I got myself some weather seal. I put this on the edges of the door to block the dust from finding its way in. Then we have the cord channel. We use this to hide the cables instead of drilling a hole. And lastly, I have a smart plug with the same brand as the LEDs of my bookshelf, so I don't have to use multiple apps to turn on all the LEDs in my room. And that is it. Basically all the materials I use to make my own custom Detolf. Now let's get started on building a Detolf. Step 1. Open the Detolf box number 1. Step 2. Grab the top and bottom of the display case. Step 3. We're going to sand the tops and sides of our display case. Sand enough to rough up the paint, but don't scratch too deep or it may show up once painted. The goal here is just to make the surface a little bit easier for the paint to stick to. Note, do not sand the side where there's screw holes or glass holes. Also note, if you're not planning on painting your display case, you can just jump to step 9. Okay, step 4. Clean the sanded areas with a wet cloth to remove any dust. Step 5. Using your painting tape, tape the interior side of your top and bottom blocks. I like to tape at least 2 rows of tape in the event that somehow the paint finds its way on the interior side. Step 6. Paint. Lightly. The goal here is to do a lot of small layers. At first I put on the paint pretty hard, but I found that my paint started to crack. If your paint does crack, let it dry. Sand down the cracked areas to be smoothed again, and then repaint those areas. Step 7. Paint again, and maybe again. Remember, light coats. I learned the hard way the first time around. Step 8. After the paint is dried, we can take off the tape. So spray paint dries pretty quick, like 10 or 20 minutes at most. I wouldn't consider it fully dry until you let it sit for at least 24 hours or so. I found out while I can pick it up and not get paint on my hands within 20 minutes of painting, I found out if you place the painted side on a paper towel, or even a towel, it would leave impressions in the paint. So once you're done painting, just let it cure for 24 hours. This time also decreases the smell of the paint by a lot. My next piece of advice is if you're using the frog paint, pull it off slowly. It sticks a lot better than the Scotch blue tape. By pulling it off fast, you may pull off some of the Detolf's white paint around the screw holes, and you don't want this to happen. Now results may vary, and your edges may not be super clean, but that's okay, you can clean up your edges later. Or you can just leave them as they are, because most likely they're barely noticeable. There should be videos online that can help guide you on how to clean your edges. Step 9. Time to put the Detolf together. We're going to do this all in one step. First, put down your bottom. Then put together the frame. Next, the glass. There are 3 options you can do here. 1. You can use the default glass, pretty basic. 2. You can replace the back glass with a mirror, which I'll explain in a second. And 3. You can add a reflective mirror film on the back glass. Now let's talk about the back mirror. The back of figures can be easily as detailed as the front, but you miss a lot of that if their backs are to the wall. Right now I have the default glass in, but I have a mirror wall behind it, which is another option. My future plans is to order custom cut mirrors and replace the back glass with that mirror. I put information in the video description on a recommendation on getting custom cut mirrors, along with the dimensions of the back glass. That being said, make sure you double check your measurements before ordering anything. As for option 3, the mirror film, from the videos I've seen, it seems more trouble than it's worth, so I'm just going to avoid this one. Now 4. Put on the top. Don't tighten it too tightly. You don't want your glass sides to bow. You want them to have a bit of flexibility or room to breathe. 5. Put on the shelves. 6. Hold on a second, leave the door off for the moment. We still have a lot left to do. This leads me into step 10. Open the LED lights and LED channels, and tape the LED lights to the channels. Then line them up in this direction. Step 11. Using the two-sided tape, Tape the LED channels to the shelves themselves based on the following diagram. As for the top, line up the LED channel with the 2 open door screw holes and make sure that the LED channel is behind them. You just have to make sure that it doesn't stop the door from shutting. Step 12. Plug in the wires and turn on the lights to see if they work. If the lights are not working, you may have to flip some of the wires. Step 13. Now that the lights are working, we're going to use a single strip of tape to tape the loose wires to the frame, like so. Step 14. Once all the wires are taped up, we're going to cover them with the spiral wrap. Size up the spiral wrap with the shelf, and then cut it to the height of the shelf. Then wrap it around the wire and the frame like so. Step 15. Now we can install the cable channel to the outside of the Detolf like so, and then feed our cable through it. This puts the cable at the back of the Detolf and does a great job at hiding it. Step 16. Now that the lighting is done, on to the dust resistance. For this, I put the weather seal along the door frame. Important note, to make the weather seal in the door flush, the door may have some difficulty opening. This can cause the side glass to bow for a second, and this can be extremely scary. Glass can flex to an extent, but if it's too much, move the weather seal in further, like a millimeter or 2 if you're uncomfortable. Just be careful. That being said, I don't imagine that you open these cases very often. Step 17. Put on the door. Step 18. Plug in the display case into the smart plug. Step 19. Clean your display case. At this point, I imagine it's pretty dirty. Step 20. The moment you've been waiting for. Put in your figures. And step 21. Enjoy. Well, I hope that this video helped out a bit, and if you have additional tips to share, throw them in the comments. And like always, have a great day.